Hello Sagittarius, welcome to your 2024 overview horoscope. In this video, I'll be going over a bunch of the big transits happening in 2024. I'll be explaining what to expect and offering some do's and don'ts for the different parts of the year. This is for those of you who like to prepare and like to know what's coming for the next year and help you schedule when to do things. So, 2024 main events overall include Pluto's back and forth in Capricorn and Aquarius, with the final ingress into Aquarius at the end of the year. And Jupiter will conjoin Uranus in Taurus right before Jupiter changes signs and enters Gemini, which will bring some luck and expansion into new house topics for the next 12 months. And it will square Saturn in Pisces, so we'll talk about that. And we will discuss eclipse season both in spring and fall as well. As a reminder, I recommend looking at your rising sign, but sometimes, people find value in looking at their sun and moon signs as well. Astrology is a form of divination after all. You get your messages how you get your messages. So let's hop right in to January 20th when Pluto enters Aquarius. And this is the second time Pluto has entered Aquarius. It's entering your third house. You got a preview of this back in March of 2023. So you're going to be in for another round of transformation in how you communicate, how you think, and how you interact with your immediate world. So specifically, you're likely going to find your way of chatting, texting, and emailing evolving. It could be a lot more direct, more profound, or just different than your usual style. The way that you communicate could change. Changes in your daily travels as well, like your commute or your regular routes to like the grocery store might see some changes. Maybe there's a new mode of transportation on the horizon for y'all, or different paths to different places in your neighborhood. Also, your dynamics with siblings, with roommates, with neighbors, with aunts and uncles, cousins could undergo some changes. For some, it could be deepening. For others, it could be more about setting boundaries, or it could just be things happening in their lives that you are witness to. So, my recommend do's and don'ts. Firstly, I recommend you do look back at March 2023 and see what was going on at the end of March, beginning of April, and this will give you some hints as to what to expect. I do recommend you embrace any new communication tools. So get a new app. An app that helps you express yourself in a different way, or just be open to experimenting with different ways to communicate. Maybe you're learning different languages, which could be coding, could be astrology. Those are languages. Could be Spanish, Duolingo. Embrace communication tools. Get a new phone, get a new laptop, that sort of thing. I also recommend you take the initiative to bring your local community together, whether it's a block party, a book club, neighborhood cleanup, cousin has a baby, sister has a baby, something like that could be possible. And that kind of brings me to the don'ts, though. Don't ignore any misunderstandings with neighbors, siblings, etc. If there is a miscommunication, address it head on, and you will be supported with that. But on the other hand, be aware of any controlling dynamics with these people or in these situations. Pluto rules control and power dynamics, and it brings opportunities for you to take your power back. So be aware of any power or control dynamics in your immediate environment. I also recommend you don't resist any changing of your daily routines. If your usual paths to work or the grocery store or around the neighborhood are feeling stale, please do try mixing it up. That means exploring new routes or a new mode of transportation, get a new car, a new bike, that sort of thing. So overall, this round of Pluto in your third house will be all about reinforcing and cementing more of those transformations in how you connect, how you communicate with those people around you. It's like fine-tuning your network and the way you express yourself in your day-to-day interactions. And this brings us to eclipse season, spring eclipse season. Eclipses bring major endings and major beginnings. It's like the ending of an era and the beginning of an era happening at the same time. And this will be shaking things up for you in your 5th and 11th houses. And the first eclipse in this series began fall of 2023. So you can look at October or September of 2023 to get an idea of what to expect for spring eclipse season in 2024. But we're looking at some big shifts in how you have fun, how you express yourself creatively, your projects, projects, and how you interact in your social circles. So let's break down some specifics. Starting with March 25th is the eclipse in Libra in your 11th house. The 11th house rules your social circle, social causes, your community. So your circle might be evolving. Your social group might be changing. Maybe you're connecting with a new crowd or seeing your current friendships transform in some level. Shifts in friend groups, basically, with this eclipse. And then the eclipse, then we have 2 weeks of wonky eclipse season from March 25th to the next eclipse on April 8th, which is in Aries in your 5th house of fun and creativity, which brings new creative directions, most likely. Your creative juices will be flowing with this eclipse, maybe flowing differently. Maybe there's a challenge that comes up and something gets eclipsed that pushes you in a new creative direction. You might find yourself, drawn to new hobbies or artistic outlets that you haven't touched in a while. And you can expect changes in your love life. If you're dating, the vibe could be changing at this point. New interests, new types of people, new dating styles. All of it is on the table for this eclipse season. And at the same time as this spring eclipse season, Mars will be conjoining Saturn in your 4th house around this time. And whenever the malefics conjoin Mars and Saturn, it slows us down. It tells us no. It brings challenges. It's like it's in Pisces, so it's like a wet blanket, and it's kind of like a stick in the mud also in some ways. So you could expect some sort of no or struggle or just a slowdown in your home, in your family. With whatever home projects you're working on, you could face some challenges there. And also, 4th house rules your parents, so you could notice some issues with your parents and their life coming up around this eclipse season also. So my recommended do's and don'ts for spring eclipse season, I do recommend you try out new creative hobbies and you engage with community causes. If something piques your interest, go for it, whether it's painting, writing, starting a YouTube channel, having a baby, create something, whether that's literal or figurative. And if a local project or a cause that other people are working on catches your eye, jump in, because this is a good eclipse season to connect with your community and make a difference. And I recommend you don't stick to any old dating patterns that you have recognized. Be open to dating different people. If you're used to swiping right, maybe try meeting people in an old-fashioned way, for example, or vice versa. If you've never tried a dating app, try a dating app. And I recommend you don't ignore your friends at this point. You might be meeting a lot of new people for this eclipse season, but don't forget about your old besties who've been with you, right? So this eclipse season will be about embracing change and exploring new ways of expressing yourself. It's the ending of one era and the beginning of another, with the things you do for fun and with the people that you hang out with and the network that you know. So it's a great eclipse season to experiment, meet new people, and just see where the new paths lead you. And this brings us to April 20th, which is when Jupiter conjoins Uranus at 21 degrees Taurus. And so this is happening in your 6th house. So you'll be in for some unexpected and expansive changes with your daily life. That is your daily routine and your work life. So you can look for Jupiter expands things. It's about knowledge and gravitas, and Uranus is about authenticity and shaking things up so that it's more authentic, okay? So your job might be throwing some curveballs at you in April 20th specifically. Think unexpected project changes or sudden opportunities to show your skills. Uranus can be kind of scary because it's chaotic, but Jupiter is kind of a guardian angel vibe where it is hanging out in the background and helping things behind the scenes that you can't really see that they're helping. So Uranus pushes for change and Jupiter makes it a little bit lighter and less scary. Jupiter is a benefic after all. So your daily habits, your morning routine to your workout could go through some changes, some expansion, maybe a new fitness craze, or just a totally different way of tackling your tasks comes up at the end of April. This could also be a time where you're discovering new health practices. Maybe you meet a new holistic health doctor that helps you get rid of your gut bugs. And health innovations in general are possible. And anything to do with pets can come up too. Something surprising in your pet's life. Maybe you get a new pet, or maybe your pet's acting really weird this day. But the 6th house rules pets too, so we have to bring that up. So my do's and don'ts for the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. I do recommend you seize any new projects at work. If a fresh, unexpected task or role pops up with your work, go for it. This is a chance to add some new skills to your resume. And whether it's a new morning routine or a different commuting method, some sort of unique approach to managing your to-dos is the time. It's the time to experiment with this. So revitalize your daily habits at the end of April also. And get a pet. Spoil your pet. I also recommend maybe making an appointment, a doctor's appointment, or some sort of appointment you need to make that you've been putting off. I don't recommend, again, you ignore health appointments. Even amidst all of your busyness in April, make sure you're keeping up with your health checkups and all of your appointments. And as a pet, if you're a pet owner, especially if you're a dog owner, be mindful of their safety at the end of August. Keep them on a leash, essentially, in public spaces, even if they're usually well behaved, because Uranus is chaotic, okay? So we want to make sure Fido stays safe. So with Jupiter and Uranus in your 6th house, it's going to be about being open to new and unexpected changes in your work and in your health routines and with pets. These are going to be changes that bring growth and excitement. They're overall a good thing because Jupiter's a benefic and Uranus just wants us to be authentic, although it can be shaky. Jupiter's there helping. So these things are really going to bring growth and excitement into your daily life. So just be ready to be flexible at the end of April. And this brings us to the end of May. May 25th, Jupiter enters Gemini and immediately trines Pluto in Aquarius. So Jupiter will enter your 7th house and trine Pluto in your 3rd house. And this is overall very exciting. We love Jupiter getting angular in your chart. But on the other hand, Jupiter is your ruling planet as a Sagittarius rising. So Jupiter, whatever Jupiter is doing, kind of reflects what's going on with you as well. And Jupiter will enter your 7th house, which we like, because that means your ruling planet is more easily accessible. It's in the 7th house, which is directly in front of you, all the people you talk to, that sort of thing. But the downside is that it's entering Gemini, which is its technical detriment, okay? Detriment is just a technical term in astrology to explain how Jupiter can act in certain signs. And when Jupiter is in Gemini, it can't be its normal Jupiter self. Not that it can't be optimistic or anything like that, but it needs to be more logical because now it's in Mercury's domain. And Mercury is all about details, specifics, logic, that kind of thing. And Jupiter is more about big ideas, philosophies, not really much about the details, not really much about the logic. It's more about the overarching thing that could happen. So you might notice a change in your circumstance when Jupiter enters Gemini. Maybe there is some sort of circumstance in your life that changes the way that you're able to act or work or be. That doesn't mean that it's bad. That just means that it's different. So what does that mean exactly? We like Jupiter in the 7th house because this means that your relationships are getting a major boost, deeper connections, maybe even some lucky breaks in love or in partnerships. It's a lot more joy and fun and love in other people. And it trines Pluto in your 3rd house. So your conversations could get more intense and more meaningful with other people. We're talking conversations that could really change your perspective or their perspective and deepen bonds in general. So conversations get deeper as well. And Jupiter expands things. So it'll expand your social circle. Jupiter's vibe is all about growth. So expect to meet new people who could really play significant roles in your life while Jupiter's here. Your network is set to expand in cool ways and in ways that you're not used to things happening as well. The next 12 months after May 25th for Sag risings will be about you having to work with different resources than you're used to. That doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's different. So what do I recommend you do and don't? I recommend you do meet new people. You do consider marriage or any serious commitments. Join a club, join a group, host social gatherings around this time or over the next 12 months. Jupiter will be here for 12 months again. So yeah, it's a great time to expand your social circle through events, clubs, mutual friends. If you're in a relationship, this might be time to think about taking things to the next level, whether it's marriage or some other kind of commitment. The stars are aligning for a big relationship move. And again, you have a chance of meeting new people if you're single. Actively look for and join clubs or groups that align with what you like to do. Don'ts. I recommend you don't overcommit your schedule though. While being social is very much so encouraged, I recommend you don't stretch yourself too thin. It's very important to balance these things, of course. I don't want you to burn out and get sick. Don't ignore your boundaries. Don't forget self-care at this point. And don't dismiss your own voice. With Jupiter in the 7th house, you might be putting a lot of weight on what other people are saying for the next 12 months. But make sure that your feelings and your opinions are heard too. We want to make sure you're maintaining your sense of self in relationships for the next 12 months, because it can be really easy to be codependent and that sort of thing when Jupiter enters here. But overall, it'll be a good time for strengthening relationships, supercharging your communication skills, meeting new people. The key is to be open to the new people and be open to the deep discussions. And no, they won't all be winners, but they will be good for your story that you tell later, right? And this moves us to Mars squaring Saturn, which exacts August 15th. And you'll be noticing this most of the summer because they be moving slow, but August especially. And Mars will be in your 7th house, squaring Saturn in your 4th house. And it's definitely one of the more challenging ones, one of the more challenging aspects you're faced this year, besides the Mars-Saturn conjunction during eclipse season in the spring. But it'll bring some tension between your relationships and in your home life. And whenever Mars and Saturn, like I said earlier, contact each other, especially through a more challenging aspect, it slows things down. It pumps the brakes. It's very stop-go, because Mars is ready to go and Saturn pulls it back. So what I get from this is that Jupiter enters your 7th house and new expansion, new things are happening. But growth can't happen without growing pains, right? So there's this exponential growth happening in your relationship dynamics, and Saturn comes through and Mars comes through, and they're making sure that this is sustainable. Again, this is a growing pains kind of energy. So you might find yourself caught in the middle of different expectations with partners, friends, family members, feeling stuck between a rock and a hard place as possible at this point, feeling constrained at home, feeling constrained in a relationship. Your parents maybe also having something going on in their life, or your partner's parents having something going on in their life. But overall, it's slow progress in the summertime regarding personal relationships and regarding any home life situations coming up. Any efforts to move forward or make changes in these situations will feel a bit more hindered or slower than expected. That doesn't mean that things won't happen. I'm just giving you warning that you need to be patient in August with whatever's coming up in relationships or in your home life. Growing pains. It's the growing pains season. So the do's and don'ts. I recommend you do in August plan a home improvement project. I recommend you do start a new hobby, maybe with a partner, with somebody else. And I recommend you do organize some sort of family meetings or hangouts, having some sort of discussion with a family member. And I recommend for the don'ts, don't make any impulsive decisions about moving or relocating or remodeling. Even while tensions are high, it's better to think through these major decisions for the time of August, or just know things will be stop-go. It'll feel like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, that sort of thing. Can't always help when things happen, but at this point in August, also, don't overlook alone time. Don't neglect small acts of kindness to yourself or to other people. This will be a more tense time of the year, okay? And navigating it will require more patience and a careful balance between your home life and your relationships. And you will be able to, through all of this in August, you'll be able to fulfill your obligations while also nurturing any connections that you have. But it will take effort. It will take work. Luckily, Mars isn't alone in squaring Saturn. Jupiter is squaring Saturn also. They're almost conjoining at this point in August. At the end, August 19th, Jupiter will exact its square to Saturn. So with Mars and Jupiter conjoining, Jupiter can expand Mars and make Mars more Marsy, And it can also act as kind of like a guardian angel benefic force that keeps Mars from doing anything too crazy, especially when it's mad at Saturn. So this is a very dynamic month with Jupiter here. What's nice is Jupiter squares Saturn a second time in December, so we get another chance to really feel what this transit's doing, because it'll be hard to tell with Mars here in August, but there will be tension, of course, with the Mars thing. But with Jupiter here, there are opportunities for growth with your home life and with your relationship. So it's not all it's not all growing pains. I like the word growing pains because we're still growing with Jupiter here, but there is the, reality of it as well, which can be painful or downer vibes. So again, you might be feeling the demands of your close partnerships and your home and family. Finding balance might be more challenging. And with Mars in the equation at this point, there could be moments that intensify, or conflict could come up at home or in relationships. There is some tension with family life and relationships. And Jupiter's influence might amplify that, or it might help soothe that. Depends on your situation. So either way, though, despite any challenges from this mutable square, this will be a good time for your relationships to grow and deepen thanks to Jupiter's expansive energy. It's just some growing pains. And then this brings us to Pluto retrograding back into Capricorn September 1st. Pluto will be re-entering your second house for the final time in our lifetime, wrapping up its journey since 2008. You're looking at a final transformation phase for it's only going to be there for 2 months also. So while the ingress might feel like a benchmark moment with these second house topics, it'll only be there for 2 months. So it'll be more about wrapping things up than it'll be about newness. So final adjustments with finances are possible at the beginning of September, solidifying, more of what you find valuable, what you truly value in life, like deciding you can let go of certain things and you find more priority in other things as possible. And just overall, you're likely to find some closure or completion moments with finance and traumas regarding finances. So the do's and don'ts for September, I would say if you've been considering investing in stocks, investing in property, or any other long-term ventures, now's a good time. And update your will, create a will if you haven't created one yet. Establish some sort of sustainable budget, create or adjust the budget you already have to reflect your current financial goals and the future goals you have too. The don'ts I have for September: don't ignore any financial red flags. Don't cling to any outdated financial plans. Like, throw your old budget away and restart at this point. And don't overlook any opportunities at this point for financial education. This is a good time to enhance your knowledge of personal finance, whether it's through courses, books, TikToks, advice from a financial advisor. Something like that is a good thing to do. So Pluto will be concluding here for 2 months. I said 2 months in your second house, and it'll be cementing some of these changes that you've formulated since 2008, which I know is over 10 years. So of course things have changed since then, but this will be setting the stage for stability and growth with your second house topics for the year ahead, or years ahead, I should say. And this brings us to fall eclipse season 2. And again, eclipses are all about major endings and major beginnings in certain aspects of our lives happening at the same time. It's the ending of one era and the beginning of another era. And these eclipses in the fall are happening for you in your 4th house and in your 11th house again. So let's begin with September 17th. There is a lunar eclipse in your 4th house, Pisces, home and family ruled. So let's talk about what you can expect. Let's start with September 17th. There's a lunar eclipse at 25 degrees Pisces in your 4th house of home and family. So this is the first eclipse happening on this axis. It will happen more in 2025. So we're getting a taste of it in the fall of 2024. It is the taste of the endings and beginnings that will happen for the next year with these house themes, and it's conjoined Saturn. So it might be a little bit serious or challenging or stick in the mud Eeyore, pessimistic kind of vibes. But it could be a time when you decide that you need changes in your home life, family dynamics shift here with eclipses in the fourth, and a focus on your roots as well. So it's a good time to consider moving, renovating, or making some sort of significant changes in your living situation. And you can expect some developments in family relationships, and it's a good time to focus on where you come from, which might involve reconnecting to old family or exploring your heritage or 23andMe, that kind of thing. And the next eclipse, then we have 2 wonky weeks again for eclipse season, and then we have October 2nd, which is the solar eclipse at 10 degrees Libra in the 11th house of community and social networks. So evolving social circles again. And this is probably, I think this is the final eclipse in this series. So it's more of a benchmark moment wrapping up the shifts that have been happening throughout the year with your friends and with your 5th house topics. So you might find your social circle changing again, or like finalizing changes there, with some friendships deepening while other friendships are fading. Opportunities to engage with your community might come up, especially projects or group events, new community involvement in general. And it is a time where you will be reassessing your involvement in different groups, organizations, group chats, friend groups, and just figuring out exactly where you fit in at this point. Because with all these changes, So here are my recommended do's and don'ts for eclipse season in the fall. I recommend you embrace home changes. I recommend you nurture new friendships. And I recommend you get involved in community projects. I recommend you don't ignore any home repairs that need to happen. I recommend you don't hold back from decluttering. Don't hold on to things. And don't miss out on any networking opportunities. Like if there are chances to connect with new people, especially those who could have a positive impact on your career, jump in and get in on that for eclipse season. But overall, eclipse season is about the ending of one era and the beginning of another with your personal life, with your social life, and with your home life. And it offers a chance to realign your living situation, your family dynamics, and your social connections with your current life path, or your life path at the time. And this brings us to November 19th. Pluto re-enters Aquarius for the final time. Pluto will be making its final ingress into your 3rd house. You will have seen this before, March 2023, January 2024. You can look back at those dates and kind of construct a narrative by this time to figure out what this Pluto ingress story has been for you. But it's a final wave of changes with communications, your day-to-day interactions with people, that sort of thing. So a communication overhaul, again, a change up in your daily commute, evolving relationship dynamics with siblings, neighbors, aunts, uncles, cousins, and changes with your form of transportation, and big changes in how you learn and how you think about things. So I want to remind you, though, that Pluto is slow moving. It will be here 19 years. So it's not like all of this stuff's going to happen immediately upon the ingress. This is kind of a background thing that will be happening over the next 19 years. But it's still good to be aware because the ingress can have things happen. It can be a benchmark moment. So the do's and don'ts for November, the end of November. I recommend you try out new technology, new apps, something that makes your organization easier would be really good. A new phone, a new laptop, a new tablet, a new car, stuff like that. I recommend you do plan community events. If you have an idea for a neighborhood event, it's a good time to make it happen at this point. Like maybe you host some sort of Christmas party or something. And again, get a new car, update your ride. If your commute is in need of a refresh, it's a good time to buy a new car, upgrade your current one. Just be sure you're not dealing with really slimy car salesmen because, again, Pluto rules manipulation, power dynamics, control, etc. And if you're talking about getting a new car, you could be talking to Pluto about getting a new car. So keep that in mind. So the don'ts. Don't let your miscommunications fester. Tackle any miscommunications. Don't go down the same route you always take to work. Go a different way to the grocery store. Try a new way. And don't ignore any opportunities for learning that are coming up. If there's a chance to learn something, I recommend you get in on that because the third house is big for that. So overall, the final stretch of Pluto entering your third house will be looking at changes in how you connect to people, how you share ideas with people. It'll be a good time to fine-tune the dial on your daily interactions, in your communications, and it will set you up for a way more effective and fulfilling exchange of ideas moving forward. And this brings us to December 6th, when Mars stations retrograde at 6 degrees Leo. It will be stationing in your 9th house, and this will be a time that makes you rethink and reshape your approach to learning, beliefs, and just how you explore and adventure and journey in life. So let's break down what that could mean specifically. If you are studying or you're planning to study, you might find yourself questioning your direction at this point, considering different subjects. You could be burnt out, or it could be as simple as we're going on break. We're going on winter break. But travel plans might get pretty tricky. Also, for Mars retrograde, be prepared for any delays or changes in travel plans. Mars retrograde is about stopping and reconsidering. It's a time to be flexible and patient, essentially, especially with traveling. And also, you might be more interested in delving into spiritual matters, philosophical matters, religious matters, different esoteric texts. You may be really diving into that, astrology even. So the do's and don'ts I have for this Mars retrograde, I would have to say overall it's not too bad of a place for a Mars retrograde, but the downside is the struggles that you might have at school, or the struggle you might have with traveling or with any law situations. But let's talk about the do's. The do's. I do recommend you revisit travel places, like you travel somewhere you have been before. That would be really astrologer good. Instead of going to new places, consider revisiting locations that you've already been. I also recommend you rework any publishing or writing projects that you're working on. Use this time to refine and edit. It'll be very, very astrologer good to be editing this sort of stuff at this point. And I recommend you do join a refresher course. If there's a subject you've always loved and wanted to revisit, it's a good time to do this, especially a short course or a workshop, something that you have learned before, not something entirely new. I don't recommend you rush into any new study programs at this point, but if you have been considering it for a while, that's totally fine. Go for it, because it can represent the process of like getting into it and getting into the routine. And I don't recommend starting any legal proceedings, any major legal proceedings. If possible, postpone initiating any of that, any legal actions. It'll be a time when things might not go as expected for y'all. And I recommend you don't neglect any backup plans for traveling. So when planning trips, have a backup plan in case of delays or changes here. Flexibility is going to be key during this retrograde. Overall, Mars retrograde in your 9th house, it gives you a chance to slow down, to reflect, and to make sure you're on a path that truly resonates with you, with your current mindset and your aspirations at the time. And this brings us to the second Jupiter-Saturn square that exacts on December 24th. You'll be feeling it all through December while Mars is retrograde. So Jupiter is still in your 7th house, squaring Saturn in your 4th house. And the first time we experienced this was August of 2024. And so this time also, it won't have Mars involved, which is very nice. So you'll be able to fine tune these energies that you were introduced to in August. So there's some sort of adjustment needed with growth in relationships and reality at home or with your private life or with family. And so it'll be a time to juggle needs of your family and your home life and your romantic and partnership demands as well. So it might feel like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place with some sort of relationship or with some sort of living situation. But despite these challenges, it's a really good period for strengthening relationships. You might find more depth and meaning in your connections. It's like Jupiter enters your 7th house and you meet somebody and it seems really, really good. And then Saturn squares it and it's like, okay, but where are we going to live? Whose house are we going to live in? Who's going to pay the bills? That kind of thing. It's bringing a reality check to all that Jupiter energy. It could be a bestie, it could be a roommate, it could be a parent, it could be a business partner even. Expect to rethink how you live and who you live with, and it's a time for changes around the house, or maybe even considering a move, moving in with somebody and then like adjusting to living with that person is the vibe too. So the do's and don'ts. I recommend you do consider any relationship counseling. I recommend you do plan home improvements, and I recommend you do organize family gatherings. Use this time to bring family together, whether it's a regular family dinner or planning a larger reunion of some kind, that's supported. Or as for home improvements, whether it's decorating, renovating, or rearranging, it's a really good month to make your living space more harmonious and reflective of your current lifestyle. I imagine you're going to be really, really, really busy with holiday stuff. That's kind of the vibe. Like you have so many, Jupiter in the 7th house, you have so many people to talk to, people to pee, places to go, people to see. And Saturn is in the 4th house squaring it, being like, all right, but who do we really want to live with? What is the structure? What are the rules in this relationship? That kind of thing. I recommend you don't ignore any family problems coming up at this point because you have Jupiter's assistance in working through family issues. I recommend you don't make any hasty decisions about moving. If you are considering relocating, take your time to weigh all the options. Rushing decisions might not be the best. It might bring a little bit more obstacles your way. And don't let your home life restrict your social life, though. It'll feel like you're being restricted, and it's important to just try and balance that. But yeah, this will be the second pass, so you'll be familiar with this energy, and it'll be a little bit easier because Mars won't be involved. But you'll be making practical adjustments with your home life and your relationship life. And so that's what we have today, y'all. How do you feel about the upcoming year? Drop a comment. I love reading your comments. Tell me which transit you're looking forward to and which transits you're side-eyeing. Let's discuss. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to help keep the community going. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to delve deeper into astrology with me, don't forget, Pisces Fellowship offers weekly and monthly horoscopes. I'm available for one-on-one consultations if you want to get a reading with me or start a mentorship with me. And of course, you're welcome to join the free 9th House Discord server to keep the astro conversation flowing. Thanks so much for being here, y'all. I'll catch you next time.